But I just want to clarify, the topic is definitely, in quotes, if Trump is elected, it is the end of democracy, correct? And he said, we went back and forth. Yes, I will solidify this. And then Danabo is democracy on the ballot 2024. So I was just reiterated the same thing. Yes, is democracy on the ballot? But I went and I was like, hey, I just want to clarify.
Okay.
The question is democracy on the ballot?
I might just go to sleep. I got other shit I can do tonight, guys. I can't. My blood pressure's too high. This is actually. It's the thing that's triggering the most about this conversation is that Dylan is even taking it seriously. There's no issue in the history of all of mankind where a thing being on the ballot means that it's a binary yes or no. Gun control is on the ballot. That doesn't mean that we ban all guns or allow all guns. Immigration is on the ballot. That doesn't mean that we ban all immigration or allow all immigration. Like, this is the dumbest interpretation of anything I've ever heard in my entire life. This is so stupid. I don't know why. I don't even want to have this debate right now. Is not real. The fact that we're debating this prompt is so.
It wasn't out of thin air. We asked for clarification, but also I will point out that
it was clarified.
I asked for after the fact, after I'm in the van. But I just pointed out, I asked for like a plausible scenario of like how he was going to do this, and you guys all screamed at me. Like,
the plausible scenario. The plausible scenario.
Like, I was being really nice about that.
The question. Let's start the question then on a level playing field, and let me ask it like this, because this is a question AJW had. Is there, because let's say you could say, okay, Donald Trump has some anti-democratic tendencies, but we have strong institutions. What is the plausible scenario that he could actually hurt American democracy so much that it could cause its end?
Yes,
Dylan,
I think that
we resolve the previous topic first.
No. When the question is democracy?
What do you mean, like, should I resolve the topic? I can't resolve.
No. Like,
that.
can we get a resolution? Like, can they concede and then we can move on to the next?
We're not
topic?
conceding. No, absolutely not.
Right. So then why are we moving on?
When somebody says it's democracy on the ballot, the question is meaning, obviously, if we elect a person, is there going to be a significant departure from what our currently understood democratic norms are? That's what we're talking about, right? That's what it means. That's what everybody understood that question mean. That's what any reasonable human being would understand that question mean. Okay? So then the question is will Donald Trump do things that we would consider a significant departure from American democratic values? Okay? And the answer we would say is yes.
When I get asked to a piano recital, I ask, where do I sit? What do I need to do? And that's what Lauren did for this conversation. So when there's confusion, you ask for clarification. Then we receive clarification on it. And now you're mad at us for going based on the information that we were told when we were lured into the back of your van. So, like, I don't know why you're getting all mad because you didn't act for clarification.
Okay, my bad. Can we agree on this then? Hitler was not a threat to German democracy because they went back to being a democracy. Can you agree with that?
They completely changed the government over there.
No, but they went back. No, wait. Germany went back. Germany's fine today, right? Do you agree that Germany's fine today?
Destiny.
No, answer that. I need an answer to that. No. Don't pivot. Answer that question. Answer that question. He's pivoting. Let me know when he's done, and I'm going to ask the same question again.
Okay, Cam.
I don't even know what I'm going to say because I haven't said it.
Cam, you can answer the question, and then you can ask your question that you wanted to ask. And then I want to actually come back to the question I asked, because I posed it, and it is a question.
Okay, great. Okay, so in the case of Germany had a dictator that rose to power and degraded the democratic systems that the country previously had.
You're not even right. Hitler did not rise as a dictator. Hitler didn't rise as a dictator. Can we just go on to the next thing? You don't know any history. Hitler didn't start off as a dictator. You don't know what you're talking about. Just go to the next question.
You've established he doesn't know what he's talking
about. Okay, then do something else.
Right.
Great. I don't know what I'm talking about. Are you happy, Destiny? Okay, great. So it took a regime fall for democracy to return to Germany and several decades of Western occupation in Germany for that democracy to be restored to Germany. Okay, so that's not what happened in the Rutherford B. Hayes case that Sean cited earlier, where this exact thing that you're claiming will overthrow democracy happened, and it resulted in democracy continuing on to today. Clearly, you agree that democracy exists today. Otherwise, you wouldn't be arguing that it's on the ballot.
Democracy in Germany exists today. You just proved Destiny's point. The idea that democracy is only threatened if it's permanently ended is fucking stupid. Now you're moving the goalposts again.
We're saying that it will happen without a regime.
If there's a decades-long gap in between democracy and dictatorship, that's something else.
Yeah. All right. So do you think that there's a meaningful difference? I'm just going to ask you of having external governments over overthrow your dictatorship and then install a democratic.
I'm so bored.
I'm
so good. I'm so good on this, guys.
Because
I'm so
the Soviet
good.
Union
I think I'm
took over
good.
the other half.
Can I just please? Can I please
they
leave?
split the
I just
country.
want to leave.
Do you think there's a
is
meaningful
so
difference between
retarded.
that and then an election that's like contested, that has this stupid electors thing, and then a corrupt compromise that's one of the stains on American history, but then the next election functions as normal? Do you understand that there's a difference?
Okay, I understand there's a difference, so there's no threat. Then do you agree that the Civil War wasn't a threat to democracy? Because that wasn't another country, right?
Is the Civil War? That's actually an interesting question.
No, it's not. They weren't another country. They weren't. They didn't have the legal right to secede. Just because you say you do doesn't mean that you do.
Democracy. If these people like wanted to secede, and then like they ended up going to war with the other half of the country.
Nope. It wasn't another country. You defined it as external country, external occupation.
A conflict from within the country about whether or not you could break apart. Like, is that, like that's actually an interesting question.
But no, it's not. Hold on, no, it's very easy to solve. We came back immediately after Reconstruction, everything. We're good. Boom. So it wasn't a threat, right? Say that the Civil War wasn't a threat to democracy. It didn't end democracy. It was, yeah.
Yeah, but what you're failing to realize is
no.
That
I want to hear the answer to that. The Civil War didn't end democracy. Say that. So the Civil War didn't end democracy, right?
It's not analogous.
Why? No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be. It didn't end democracy.
It absolutely matters. You're posing an analogy. It has to be analogous. Holy shit.
I'm just saying if it fits your definition.
Was a military uprising. Trump attempted to do this in a civil manner, manipulating laws in the United States. As Sean pointed out, again, it's happened before. If Trump wanted to overthrow the government with the military, like what happened in the Civil War, he would have done it, but he didn't.
That's not true. There's a whole number of reasons. Hold on. Wait. I need you to accept that the Civil War didn't end democracy. So democracy was never on the ballot when it came to the Civil War because it didn't end democracy.
Well, that's why it's an interesting question, because after the Civil War, there was an occupation of the South by Union troops to suppress their democratic ambitions because they wanted a bunch of crazy stuff. So
I think the ridiculousness and bad
faith, it really did kind of cut off it really did kind of cut off this like popular movement to separate from the country. Like, it was definitely a threat to the country, but like I'm not like, that's why it's an interesting question, because these people wanted to leave the nation, and like theoretically if they voted democratically they might have like gotten their way if it was based on a ballot initiative.
If we were having a debate before the Civil War, the Civil War and somebody would say, do you think if we had a Civil War would that be a threat to democracy? Would your answer be yes or no?
It depends on the nature of the Civil War. If you're fighting over like voting to leave the country, like, is it undemocratic to force them to stay? Like, I think it's the right thing to force them to stay, even though it might be undemocratic. That's why I have to think about it.
Is Russia a democracy?
No.
Why not? They vote, don't they? Okay, yeah. So Russia's a democracy. So nothing Putin's done is a threat to democracy, right?
Where they kill the opposition people, like
rigged elections. Wait, so do rigged elections make you not a democracy? Careful, you know where I'm going with this.
If you rig an election like consistently to get like this 97% or whatever.
Okay, so wait. So then, if there's a new president, after Putin, then we would say that all along it was a democracy because it went back, right? As long as there's a democratic president elected at some point in the future.
If they have a new dictator after he dies.
No. Let's say it's a democratically elected president after Putin dies. So then it was just a temporary departure. It's not it goes back to being a democracy, right? So in 91, Putin and everybody else, like that democracy was never on the ballot.
I couldn't tell you if the Russian Federation was like a legit democracy to start out with or not. Like I'm not that read up on Russian history, but I would assume it depends on the structure of their government. If they like turn into a democracy, then they're a democracy. If that makes sense.
None of this makes sense. It's like
the next guy gets elected, but if he gets elected and then like he's the president for like 2 decades or whatever, like then that's probably not legit.
From the perspective of someone who engages in politics from like a liberal perspective, it's been frustrating to watch right-wing pundits come up. The best defense that they come up with for Trump was that, yeah, he may try to stress test democracy, but our institutions will hold. And to people like myself, I think I'll speak for Destiny and Josiah, that just seems like completely untenable. Why would you even allow someone to have that opportunity in the first place?
Yeah, the thing we hear all the time is that the guardrails hold. And it's like this idea that you have a friend who drives his Ford F-150 into the guardrails on a highway, and then you toss him a fresh set of fucking keys. The guardrails held.
That's not the argument we're making. That's the premise of the debate, and we're holding you to it. We're not. That's not our only defense of Trump, right? I mean, me personally, like I came into this like literally 30 minutes, or not 30 minutes, but I was warned 3 hours in advance. So like, yeah, I don't have like an elaborate like defense of Trump that I'm going to deploy against Destiny right now. So I'm holding to the standard of the debate.
Am I allowed to hop in here?
Sure.
May I be permitted? Woman moment.
You are permitted.
Okay, so obviously there's been a lot of talk about the electors scandal here, and I get that, we can concede that was a stress test to democracy, probably naughty. But what would Trump, realistically in this upcoming term, he could not run again afterwards. What is your guys' argument for how he will deconstruct democracy if he were to win an election this upcoming?
Trump could pressure every single part of his cabinet or administration to launch fake investigations into his political opponents. Because now the Supreme Court has granted him full criminal immunity from any conversations he has with his cabinet about things that might result in their firing. So that could be one big thing.
We also have to talk about Trump reshaping the GOP in his image. He's been really successful at pushing out politicians who don't bend the knee and sort of bend their will to him. So the very makeup of the legislation
system then, if that's something the president is able to do, wouldn't that be something Kamala Harris?
The president wasn't supposed to be able to do it, but because of the weird Supreme Court shit, now for some reason he's able to. Biden wants to change the law.
Kamala can do that as well. So is it really a question of whether democracy is on the line, or is it already lost in your opinion?
Well, the difference is that when Democrats do bad things, they don't go to the Supreme Court and beg for criminal immunity or go in front of a civil court to say we lied.
That as if it's a given for every Democrat that will ever exist in human history, obviously.
Because we haven't seen one abuse it yet, because Donald Trump pardoned every single crony fuck that worked with him, and Biden is literally watching his son get convicted.
Yet doesn't mean it won't happen.
Lauren, implicit, respectfully.
He'll probably pardon Hunter Biden, if we're being honest, when the election is over.
You think he will? You think he'll pardon his son?
I think that's quite likely.
Okay. He could have pardoned his son from the beginning. He could have fired David Weiss. He could have done anything.
Basic,
I don't think you want to go down the road of pardons.
Is unpopular pardons happen when you're a lame duck and it's the end of the election. That's obviously what goes down.
He had 3 or 4 different ways.
For democracy, prosecuting your political opponent, and by the way, the thing about
he didn't prosecute his political opponent. What are you
he has a special counsel for the classified documents.
There's no evidence that Biden was involved at any step of the way in any of these special counsel, in any of the Manhattan trials.
That is true.
No evidence whatsoever that Biden was involved with that.
Yeah, nobody said that. So,
go ahead. Did the special counsel
just said that. What do you mean nobody said that?
You probably weren't paying attention.
Hold on, wait. Civics, where did the special counsel come from?
Wait, no. It's too much. I can't hear anything because everybody's talking at the same time. Okay, so the question was, I saw something posted by AJW, but let's finish the conversation first about the feasibility of Trump attacking democracy before we move on to the idea of, are Democrats prosecuting Trump, and is that an attack on democracy? So first, the feasibility. Destiny, you were hitting on this earlier, and I wanted to go to Hutch because he hasn't had much time to speak about what feasible plan could Trump employ that makes you scared about our democracy.
Yeah, I already said it. He could pressure his cabinet officials to do whatever they can in their capacity to arrest and jail political opponents, and fabricate charges for him if he wants to.
Hutch?
To expand on that, Donald Trump, it is a full-on cult of personality. If you do not swear loyalty to him and the MAGA movement, he will do everything in his power to make sure that you don't win your next election and you don't belong in the Republican Party anymore. And we've just seen that more and more. The House, if we just look at the chaos in the House, ousting their speaker for the first time in history, and you have characters like Marjorie Taylor Greene who are elevated to extreme positions of influence within the party. She's one of the party's highest fundraisers. She's on 2 subcommittee hearings, and she is fucking insane. So, I don't know if you can necessarily say that there's this grave immediate threat, but the impact on the legislative branch over time of it being corrupted by Trump-like people who rise to prominence because of him, who knows what that leads to in the future. I don't even think it's on me to tell you a really detailed, specific plan of what I think is going to happen to corruptly influence things moving forward. I can just speak in generalities.
Because
quickly to pondering before we go to the conservatives conservatives, right wingers, libertarians, whatever you define yourself. Pondering.
Well, because even the plan that he tried to enact in 2020 was, just prima facie ridiculous, which is why so many people in his own Justice Department was like, this is fucking stupid. So even any sort of plan that we could potentially devise would sound categorically ridiculous, but it didn't stop him from attempting in the first place. These institutions are not divinely crafted. They're not divinely enforced. This isn't the fucking Little Mermaid. It's not supernatural. These institutions are comprised of people. Part of Trump's mission in the second term is to staff these institutions with people who are more loyal to him than the Constitution. And then the other thing I wanted to say, implicit to Lauren's question way back like 10 minutes ago, is this assumes that there is a system of government which is bad faith proof. There's just not. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, like when you said, oh, so if this is permissible for a president to do, doesn't that mean the democracy is already dead? No. Every system of government is subject to bad faith. They're fungible, right? And so if you get a sufficiently motivated bad faith actor who is not checked by his party, by other institutions, that poses a great threat. And that's the issue with Trump. He wants to deliberately test these institutions and eventually break them to his benefit. That's not a weakness of the American system. It's a weakness of every fucking system.
Now, before we go to the conservatives, right-wingers, libertarians, whatever, to respond, I do want to quickly say that we're 15 minutes from our scheduled stop time. We can go over if anybody wants to go over, but for those who want to ask questions, now is the last time to donate because we're going to rapid fire through the questions once we got the moment before letting these fine people go. Now, who wants to take it off?
Ladies first.
I would just say, like, I'm good probably until like 7:30 at the most.
Okay. Lawrence Other?
Are you ladies firsting me? I'm still putting my thoughts together here, Sean. You go right ahead.
All right, well, then other guy go. Cam.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I want to respond to something Hutch said. Right, we're just doing responses, I guess. Yeah, so you said that, like, you basically went off of conjecture. Like, who knows? I don't have to prove what his plan is. I don't have to outline a plan that he's going to act on. Well, it's my position that Kamala Harris is going to use the exact same immunities that Donald Trump gained in the Supreme Court to install another president after her choice, right? Like, if you're not going to outline a plan, like, I can just as well make, like, baseless allegations based on conjecture. Like, I can just as well do that.
Why did they say they wouldn't outline a plan? I'll outline a plan.
We never saw Kamala try to do anything like that.
No, we will outline a plan. Though we did. I gave a plan. Go answer my plan. Answer my plan.
Yeah. So again, and then also Josiah said that Trump's just going to, like, align the government with officials that are loyal to him. It seems like he pretty much tried to do the same thing from 2017 to 2020, and didn't look like it worked. Most of his people abandoned him. So. Yeah.
No, wait a minute. So no, Donald Trump when he was president.
1 second. Before I do want to let you guys respond, but it was 1, 2, 3. I do want to give them a little bit more time because Dylan, we got to be fair.
I mean, when we ask for, like, a plausible plan, it's like doesn't have to be super detailed. It's just
I gave a plan, and the other two guys, the other two didn't want to go to the
because the method that he tried before didn't work, and again, you don't really have that option as a first-term president. In addition to that, like, you guys are alleging that he's going to prosecute his political opponents.
Oh, but Biden already did that.
I mean, Steven cited that he said he was going to be a dictator. He forgets that was said he's going to be a dictator for one day, like close the border, and I forgot what the other promise was. But this guy already ran on explicitly lock her up. And he didn't even investigate Hillary Clinton in the way that many people who wanted that investigation wanted him to do so. So, like,
wait, no, hold on.
No, Hutch,
all right, just interrupt when I'm talking, like I did for you. Oh wait, I didn't.
All right, I apologize.
Past behavior is normally a predictor of future outcome, and Trump hasn't shown himself competent enough to actually have a successful coup, to actually have sycophants like Eric Holder that are serving him in the Justice Department. On top of that, our institutions did hold. That's a good thing. And he is currently being prosecuted by the opposition party through a bunch of cases that are first of its kind cases, or we just established a precedent that this is even possible right before. There was a 14th Amendment case where they tried to force him off the ballot. All of this crazy stuff that, again, are chipping away at the democratic process, the norms and all that. But even then, I still don't believe that those actions by the other party are a threat to democracy in the way that you guys are portraying this nebulous plan that you can't quite define from Trump.
I can't believe I let these two walk away from my
I think it's insane to give Trump credit for not prosecuting Hillary Clinton when presidents don't do that. They cannot, like, according to the norms that have been in place since like the 70s, they don't have the authority to just direct the DOJ to go after their political opponents. That didn't stop him from trying. He openly, publicly. Go ahead.
Or let's just wait. We have a specific plan. Donald Trump will tell everybody in his cabinet, okay, to go after political opponents, launch fake investigations, fabricate evidence, throw them in jail if he wants to, because he knows that he can do that now without any criminal overview whatsoever. And you said that past behavior was a predictor of future behavior. That's what he tried to do in the past, but he picked the wrong people. This time he's picking different people because he knows he needs to. That's why he picked Vance, who said he would have gone along with the plot in 2020 when Pence said that he wouldn't. So we've got past behavior predicting future behavior. We've got a change in action so that it can effect his outcome before. And we have a particular plan that's now protected by the Supreme Court, and it wasn't before.
You'll have Attorney General Rudy Giuliani, day one. You'll have some unscrupulous guy.
Now they're going to grab onto Hutch. They're going to grab onto Hutch and Josiah's comments, and they're not going to respond to that, and I'm going to get fucking triggered.
Pondering's been waiting, but Lauren Southern, have you finished gathering your thoughts, or should I throw it to Pondering first?
Please just answer.
I'm just
they're not going to answer my questions. They're not going to answer.
Research that I wanted to mention.
Okay, I can throw it to some other people.
They're not going to answer. They're not going to answer.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Yes, this idea that because Donald Trump used his executive power to make appointments in his first term means that he will follow the same sort of appointment process in his second term is ridiculous. The entire point is he has publicly said that he was betrayed by rhinos, people like Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, and others.
Oh, never mind. Good job. Josiah's hitting. Yep. That's good. That's good, Josiah.
And appointed people who were, for all their faults, more loyal to the Constitution than to him.
Yep.
He would have the same discretion at his disposal as President of the United States. He would just pick different people. He would pick Matt Gaetz. He would pick Rudy Giuliani or whoever.
Yep.
And even at the Senate, let's say they've got to be Senate confirmed. No, he could just make them acting Secretary of Defense, acting Attorney General.
Yep.
So there are loopholes that Donald Trump could exploit. Sean gave the whole game away when he's like, past behavior is a predictor of future performance.
Did. Good.
Donald Trump did threaten democracy.
Yes,
that was part of his past behavior.
Oh, yes, he did,
that's
Josiah.
a tacit concession
oh, my God, good job.
Because you just gave the game away, that he'll try to do it again in a second term.
Yes, exactly.
These institutions are fungible, and they are exploitable.
Correct.
You have offered nothing other than that Trump tried and failed the first time. Sean's a crime guy. I imagine that Sean would say that an attempted murderer is still a threat. It's still a big fucking deal when you try to murder somebody and fail. And if someone said, well, hey, this attempted murderer wasn't a threat because they failed in the murder attempt, and you need not fear any future attempt because they failed in the first attempt, absolutely categorically ridiculous. You know your position's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Being a Trump supporter in this position is just wildly indefensible.
True.
So
again,
sad.
about the acting position or appointing people in that way. The Senate has a very easy method of avoiding that, and it's actually been adjudicated. They just have to say that they're in session even when they're not in session. So even those cabinet level appointments do have checks. Thank you for reminding me of that. So yeah, the institutions hold, and yes, Trump ran a ridiculous elector scheme. And theoretically, I guess if he could run for a third term, then maybe that would be something we would be worried about after he ran for his second term. But he can't run for a third term. Like, he's even more locked out of extending his reign beyond that, which was the point that I was trying to make.
Wait, what does the Senate? What does the Senate have to do?
Sufficient solution to the 22nd Amendment issue.
What does the Senate have to do with the question here of having an acting AG or having an acting or temporary?
The Senate cannot be in session as like a little tricky trick in order to block those kind of appointments.
Wait. You can still have an acting member though without a Senate confirmation, right? Doesn't the acting part mean that they don't? Yeah. So you can have an acting. By the way, we don't even have to guess would he abuse an acting attorney general because he almost fired his last acting attorney general, Rosen, because Rosen wouldn't go along with a plot to persecute, political opponents and to have and to lie to states about finding voter fraud. So he's already done exactly this with acting, with unconfirmed, with non-Senate confirmed acting AGs. He's already done this.
And this, by the way, this also generously assumes, if there's a Republican Senate, which is very possible. I mean, my God, we have to defend like 8 different seats in incumbent elections. There's no guarantee that a Republican Senate would do anything other than kowtow to him.
Wait, hold on. Also, you don't have to grant the argument because they already said past behavior is predictive of future behavior. For past behavior, there were 11 Republican senators that were willing to go along with the decertification of the election. So he's already got enough people in the Senate that are loyal to him to go through with whatever he wants. So how do you escape the idea of Donald Trump will abuse his cabinet to go after political opponents directly in whatever way he possibly can, knowing that he's tried it in the past, knowing that he now has criminal immunity, and knowing that he'll appoint better people this time? It won't be Attorney General Giuliani. It'll be Attorney General Sidney Powell or Attorney General, it won't be Attorney General William Barr. It'll be Attorney General Rudy Giuliani or Sidney Powell or Eastman.
Right. I mean, kind of interesting how threatening Democrats in particular find the idea of the Trump administration
persecuting,
actually stacking officials and people in charge of administrations and bureaucracies with like-minded individuals.
No, she's going to trigger the fuck out of me. Oh my God, she's going to trigger the fuck out of me.
If you actually look at the data, they came out with a study just last year going over
It's not having like-minded people. Doesn't matter. It's about having people willing to break the law. It's about having people willing to break the law.
Actually stacks.
It's about having people willing to break the law. It's not about ideological alignment. It's about criminal behavior. Oh my God, I'm killing. I'm drinking bleach right now. I'm drinking bleach. I'm drinking bleach. It tastes so good.
Administrations a lot more quickly.
It's calming me down.
And with significantly more of their own like-minded people than Republican presidents. In fact, during Republican administrations, a significant number of Democrats.
Hold on, just as a real quick to head off this point. Wait, just a real quick. None of us care about staffing it with like-minded people. It's about people that are willing to engage in criminal behavior. Those are the people that we're talking about.
Because the people staffed by President Clinton in 1997 still turned power over when George W. Bush, the Republican, won in 2000. Same thing when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in 2016. Barack Obama was the Democratic president of the United States. Hillary Clinton didn't scheme with Obama, and then Vice President Joe Biden steal the election from Trump. Maybe Democrats are just more reliably dependent in terms of honoring democracy and democratic norms than the Republicans.
Saying that as long as he's not appointing like-minded people that would go along with an elector's scheme.
So, or any criminal behavior. Any criminal behavior.
Next election.
So the idea that he could just put anybody in this acting position is not correct. I mean, it sounded like it was made up nonsense to me, but I looked it up. We actually have a law governing the vacancies, so he would still have to pick somebody that is already in a high level of whatever department for at least 90 days. So if his goal is to throw somebody as the acting attorney general day one, they would have to be in the attorney general's office under Biden. And this is according to, I always hate these abbreviations, the Federal Vacancies Reform Act, which was passed in 1998, probably to restrain Bill Clinton by the Republicans, if we're being perfectly honest. So again, he can't just appoint anyone. He has to appoint somebody who's in the office in a high-level position. I'll look for the exact definition of high-level.
Gotcha.
So, we can get that
okay, clarified. So that's fair then. So that would basically completely destroy our argument, unless we could possibly cite to an example where he literally did exactly the same thing, where he found the environmental head lawyer guy, Jeff Clark, who he was going to appoint to the acting head position and do the exact thing that we were accusing him of potentially doing in the future, which he exactly did. So none of this matters. The DOJ is a massive department. There's like 50 different branches of potential heads of inferior officers that you could choose from. He could find one to follow through on his scheming. He already did once. Again, past behavior predicts future behavior.
Talking about the EPA.
One second. I just want to say we're closing the supers. If you're donating on either the website or on YouTube, we're closing it off in the next 5 minutes. We're going to try to wrap this up. And since we're trying to wrap this up, I want Justice Warrior to answer that question, and then I want to ask about the thing that Sean keeps bringing up, which is the possible political persecution of Donald Trump using the justice system. Is that an attack on democracy, which is often a conservative counter? Over to you, AJW.
Yeah, I don't know what he said. I don't know which department he was referring to. Can I just get a clarification? Are you talking about filling the EPA?
Nope. No, I'm talking about in the DOJ. There is like in the it's underneath the assistant attorney general, I think, underneath the acting or underneath the attorney general, after the deputy general. There's another guy, and then there's beneath that, I think there's like the environmental protection, the environmental something, the environmental office or whatever bullshit of the DOJ. And Jeff Clark was the head of that, and he tried to make him the acting attorney general as well. There's plenty of people in the DOJ. There's a ton of different people. What?
Did that work?
No, because half the DOJ threatened to quit when he was going to do it because they realized that he was trying to destroy the government.
I don't know if that position is qualified. All right, I just was trying to clarify because you said environmental, and I wasn't sure if the EPA was covered under this act.
Nope, I'm talking about Jeff Clark, and I'm talking about what he tried to do. He's already tried to do all these things.
Fine, fair enough. What was the question again? The other question?
Why would we assume he wouldn't do the same thing? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, my question had to do with political persecution. You brought up a few times, Sean, that the Democrats and the government is going after Trump legally, trying to go after him for these crimes or supposed crimes, depending on your perspective. I wanted to ask the room, is that an example of an attack on democracy, the political persecution of an opponent, or is it a bunch of hogwash?
I mean, it's an attack on our...
Let's start with Sean, because he's been bringing it up all night.
It's an attack on the norms in our institutions. I mean, trying to remove Trump through the ballot, through the 14th Amendment. I mean, you could argue that that's an attack on our democracy, but our institutions held in those particular cases. But I mean, if you look at these different court cases, now granted, I will point out that they're not even all remotely federal. One is even a local one, the Alvin Bragg case. What you're seeing is like weird new interpretations, first time ever used interpretations in order to target Trump. I mean, the Bragg case, where it's a money thing, falsifying business records, those were enhanced to felony charges based on the fact that he was trying to influence the outcome of an election. Now, that's fine that you could say that that's what you're trying to go for, but those falsifications occurred after the election. So it was, even on its face, that's like a very like odd upgrade to felony charges, especially from a guy who ran on and downgrades more felony charges than anyone in the history of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. You have the Georgia case where they actually prosecuted, as a test case, widely reported, young thug under the RICO statute in order to have a case more similar than the Georgia teacher statute in order to prosecute Donald Trump. And it was described by the media as a test case. It's still ongoing. And again, that's very unusual to try a completely different defendant in a new way just so you have precedent in order to try your political opponent, who, by the way, you ran on prosecuting. So yeah, like these are problems, but do they necessarily rise to the point of overthrowing our democracy? No, I think that is a heavy burden. I think it can change the norms. And honestly, I know a lot of people on the left are worried that Trump might win again and he might follow suit with what the Democrats have demonstrated that they will do when they're in power. So I don't think it's at the end of the day, you still have to democracy in that same way.
At the end of the day, you still have to identify a crime. You still have to file charges. You maybe convene a grand jury, and then you have to convince a jury of your peers. And we're talking about the same DOJ that successfully prosecuted Bob Menendez. They just secured a guilty verdict against him. They're going after Texas Representative Cuellar. They successfully prosecuted Hunter Biden. So I'm sorry, I'm just not buying this.
Yeah, the whole allegation that the Justice Department's been weaponized under Biden is absolutely preposterous. They appointed a special counsel to investigate him. Robert Hur released an incredibly politically damaging report about the president. They bent over backwards to accommodate Trump. Merrick Garland, we have reporting that he dragged his feet for a fucking year with the classified documents case. Didn't the FBI and the National Archives play footsie with Trump behind the scenes, begging him to send the documents back because they didn't want to prosecute him? Cuellar, Menendez, Hunter Biden. Biden could have snapped his fingers and made that case go away. Usually U.S. attorneys resign when a new president enters office because they're political appointees of the previous administration. Biden specifically asked David Weiss, the Trump-appointed special counsel, to remain to investigate his son. Donald Trump would never fucking do that. That was actually an act of superhuman ethics on Joe Biden's part, thus proving his moral superiority over Donald Trump, objectively.
Cool. I'll answer the question too. Yeah. So I don't think it's a threat to democracy. I think it's a bad and corrupt thing to do, but I don't think it's a threat to democracy. Democracy will not cease to exist if you vote for Alvin Bragg, who explicitly campaigned on going to court with Donald Trump. And also, Hutch, it seemed that Sean said almost the exact same thing, and then you attacked him as if he said the inverse. Again, strawmanning him, which seems to be your primary tactic throughout the entire debate.
No, he accused Biden's DOJ of political persecution against Biden's political opponents. And
I've heard Sean say explicitly throughout this debate that Biden's not involved, several times.
Wait. Biden's not involved in what? Wait, very clearly. Wait, Biden's not involved in what?
Like prosecuting Trump.
He's not. Biden is not involved in prosecuting Trump.
Yeah, exactly, Destiny. That's the point we're making. I think Sean and I both have conceded that Biden's not involved, but it seems that Hutch keeps attacking Sean for the exact inverse of everything he says.
Because Trump
used Biden being involved, even though nobody said that Biden was involved.
Because
he used language talking about political persecution using the DOJ.
I actually specifically clarified that there were state, even local officials. Then I went specifically to Alvin Bragg, who is a local official. I talked about them running on these. Were you not familiar? I said
even if they run on them.
I also want to point out that you're Garland dragged his feet. Yeah, it's true. The federal prosecutors all dragged their feet on this up until Trump was announcing he was running for election. And this is a criticism I've heard from people on the left and the right, that once it was clear that he was going to run, that's when they decided that they were going to prosecute. I mean, Cenk Uygur screams about how Merrick Garland should have went after him the entire time as soon as he came out of office.
So you are accusing the Biden DOJ of political prosecution, right?
Well, let me finish my point. So he says he should have went after him as soon as he got out of office. You had the special counsel bring charges on the classified documents case, but it would have been probably less political to go after him early when you weren't sure he was going to run rather than later. But it seems like they went after him and they put all these cases on the ballot. And again, most of it is not federal officials or the special counsel. It's local politicians that ran specifically on prosecuting Trump. And remember, normally you have to have evidence of a crime before you start an investigation, not as a campaign promise run on finding a crime to charge somebody with. But again, even then, like, people did vote for this. I find it to be disgusting. I don't think it is a threat to democracy. It shakes the faith in the judicial system, but I don't think it overthrows our democratic system because that's just a heavy burden.
Even if he did,
touching on what Cam said, you are saying that the Biden DOJ under Merrick Garland is engaged in political prosecution, right?
I don't know if the special counsel directly answers to Merrick Garland.
No, but you said that Merrick Garland specifically announced the charges when he knew that Trump was going to be the candidate.
I said that Merrick Garland didn't charge Trump, and people have criticized him for dragging his feet until Trump ran for president.
Could I get a clarification if it was or wasn't political persecution, Sean?
I think there's definitely a political element to it. There's a reason why these cases get popped off.
Okay,
for sure.
Dude, hold on. For Alvin Bragg, even if he did run on the idea of prosecuting Trump, couldn't he have done it because he thought that Trump committed a crime? Like, this was a criminal case. He got a grand jury. We got a grand jury to agree to an indictment, and then it was tried in open criminal court, and a jury of peers convicted Donald Trump of the crime. So even if it started off as like, well, I hate him politically or whatever, he went through the entire criminal court process in order to secure that conviction at the end of the day. So he
literally admitted that he didn't know.
Okay, hold on, I want to get the standard out. I want to get the standard out. If Trump orders an investigation into his political opponents, and then they find a crime when they're digging into him in order to look specifically for a crime. They didn't have evidence before they started the investigation, but they go through the whole trial phase. Like, they try whatever political opponent in a county that voted 80%.
Hold on, wait. You have to have evidence to get an indictment. You need evidence for an indictment.
And then they convict him. Like, that's fine as long as you present some evidence when you're digging.
You need evidence of the indictment.
Of the norm that the president doesn't direct the DOJ. That would violate that norm.
District attorneys prosecute. Presidents don't prosecute. That's one of the major differences between
the DOJ serves under the president. Like, this weird idea that departments under the executive branch are like somehow above the executive branch.
They're not above. Wait a minute. They're not above the executive branch. But the president, by way of norm, is not supposed to be involved with the day-to-day prosecutorial decisions. So
long-standing norm.
The attorney general serves at the pleasure of the president. He is the president is his boss. But the thing is that they shouldn't be directed. You prosecute this person. You don't prosecute this person. It's like broad, like, hey, we're going to reschedule marijuana. We're going to focus more on these sorts of cases than this. Not you're supposed to prosecute this person or not. No one is saying that the attorney general is totally independent of the president. They serve at the president's pleasure. The president's just not a prosecutor the way a district attorney is.
I never said the president was a prosecutor. I said he got his prosecutors to go after them.
Yeah, but
wait. So the president did. So the president did get prosecutors in the DOJ to go after Trump?
No, I asked you a hypothetical that if this were the case, but they went through the normal legal process, you would be fine with that? That's the standard?
No, because in order to make it comparable, it would have to be like the governor of New York running on trying to...
Sure. A local DA that's very pro-Trump, 90% Trump category, finds an official, charges him with the crime that he campaigned on charging him with. They present evidence in front of a grand jury. It's enough for an indictment. Very low standard, by the way. And they secure a conviction. That's like totally legit.
If they think they've committed a crime, hold on. Especially as a New Yorker, you don't think people have ever run on cleaning up crime, on getting rid of like the mob or the mafia, or run as a DA on doing things to get rid of people?
You're not answering the question, which is a very direct question.
Hold on.
The direct answer is if a DA, if somebody,
I can't hear both at the same time. Sean.
Yeah, so you're not answering the question, which is a very direct question, and now you're pivoting to.
No, okay, I'll answer the question. Yeah, the question is if
running on being tough on crime and prosecuting criminals in general.
It's not in general. It's not just general things. People want to go after particular criminals. If you think a guy's committed a crime and a DA runs on that, he's like, I think that this guy's a criminal. When I'm the DA, I'm going to go after this guy. I'm going to make sure that I get him. If you find
the evidence of the crime was already out in the public space at that point. Michael Cohen had testified in front of Congress to these crimes. He had been criminally charged and convicted on these crimes. So it's not like there was some fishing expedition. There was already strong evidence of these crimes out there in the open that had been reported on and adjudicated for years.
Okay.
Michael Cohen was prosecuted by federal authorities, am I right, or no?
No, but it was for the same. He was prosecuted federally, but the crimes were related.
All right, but can I also get my question answered? So it would be fine if like a truck.
Okay, but can we make this the last question so we can get to some of these donations, guys?
If a district attorney thought that somebody, if a district attorney thought somebody had committed a crime and he runs on that, I'm going to hold them accountable for this crime that I think this person has committed. Yeah, and they go through the ordinary process and not breaking any rules or anything. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think everybody would agree with that. Yes.
Okay, so running on, I'm going to find a crime to prosecute them. That's totally fine.
Did Alvin say that? I'm going to find a crime?
Yeah, he said what was the exact quote? What you call it? Cam, you were talking about it earlier. That he said he was running on seeing Trump in court.
Oh yeah. He like specifically said that he was the person that had the most experience on the ballot with dealing with Trump in court.
Okay, what did he say? He was going to find a crime?
He didn't specify what crime he was going to prosecute him on when he was asked.
So he didn't say this then. So you just completely made that up. So you completely fabricated that, to be clear, right? Hold on, Sean. You admit that you totally just made that the fuck up, right? That he was going to find a crime, right?
I didn't say he said as an exact quote he's going to find a crime, but he ran on finding a crime to prosecute on Trump.
How do you know he did that if he didn't say it exactly, though? I thought we were going by exact quotes, a detailed a manifesto of exactly what somebody's going to do.
You just inserted that in there and pretend, and you hope that your audience won't notice.
If there's already federal prosecution of people around Trump or Cohen for these exact types of behaviors, why wouldn't we assume that Alvin Bragg is running on the idea of going after Trump because he knows that Trump was in the state of New York when these crimes are being committed? Why couldn't we just assume that?
I'm looking for the quote that he, for his campaign
You also
promise.
checked the timeline. In all seriousness, I thought that Trump was already under some sort of preliminary investigation by Bragg's predecessor, wasn't he? That's the other thing, too. I can't remember, but you may want to double check that, too.
Okay, can we use this as a stopping point? And Sean, during the question period, if you find something, maybe we can retouch on it again? Okay, fantastic. Thank you guys for being here for this. We're going to go through some questions because a lot of people have questions. We got a lot of people watching. Happy to see it. Let me read through these quickly, okay? To conservatives, historically, do most failed democracies fail due to soft erosion of guardrails over time or due to hard power takeovers? Does anybody want to take that?
With me and hard power takeover, does that mean always external?
Probably like a military coup, something like that.
But always another country or internal? I would say hard power takeovers.
Okay.
Preceded by soft erosion.
Yeah, I would say chances are generally probably strong democracies don't generally just get cooed or fail. There's probably some erosion of norms or things that cause shit to be kind of wacky, and then eventually it makes it more susceptible to either external or internal pressure. But I mean, it would depend. If you're talking about like a full-on fucking invasion, it doesn't matter if you got a strong or weak democracy. If the other country's bigger than you, they probably just blow your shit up, right?
Okay. If Hitler had failed to seize power, would it have still been fair to say democracy was on the ballot when he was running for election?
Didn't he win election? Wasn't it stuff he did afterwards that allowed him to become the Führer?
I believe he got in third place, and then later he won.
I thought he got a plurality.
He was appointed. He lost.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, he lost.
He lost against the coalition government, and then they appointed him chancellor.
Oh.
Well, yeah, but the question is, assume a counterfactual where he was unsuccessful in his despotic ends. Would it still have been fair to say that he was a threat to democracy or democracy was on the ballot?
But he lost. That's what you guys just said?
Also,
wait, no, but it's a hypothetical.
His appointment
hypothetical.
His appointment.
We're not talking about literal.
I mean, his appointment was what installed him into that position. So it wasn't on the ballot. It was honestly out of the hands of the citizens.
No, I understand. What the guy is asking for is an unsuccessful dictator still a threat to democracy? That's how I interpret the question. If the person is unsuccessful in their dictatorial ends, would it still be fair to say that they were a threat to democracy or the democracy was on the ballot when they initially ran for election? I'd say yeah. I'd say obviously, but
I mean, look, it's Hitler. Obviously, he's a threat to all sorts of norms. So it's kind of baked into the question.
I feel like you're right there. You're right there. You know?
Also, can I just clarify? So the Bragg statements earlier were, quote, We need a DEA on day one who has this 360-degree experience. Let's talk about what's waiting for the new DA. So there was already an investigation, subpoenas, and everything by the prior DA into Trump's business dealings relating to these cover papers. So the investigation already been going on. Number one, okay, and then we know there's a Trump investigation. I've investigated Trump and his children and held them accountable for their misconduct with the Trump Foundation. I also sued the Trump administration more than 100 times for deferred action for childhood arrivals, the travel ban, separation of children from their families at the border. So I know that work. I know how to follow the facts and hold people in power accountable. And the second quote is, I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. I was the chief deputy in the Attorney General's office. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times for the Muslim travel ban, for family separation at the border, for shenanigans with the census. So I know how to litigate with him. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case. So I'm ready to go wherever the facts take me and to inherit that case. And I think it'd be hard to argue with the fact that that'd be the most important, most high-profile case, and I've seen him up front, and I've seen the lawlessness that he could do. So it seems like he said exactly the opposite of what you implied. Do you understand that those quotes seem like the exact opposite of a...
He ran on holding him, quote, accountable. I'm reading through his quotes right now. I might have the same page as you.
Okay, so if he ran on holding him accountable, isn't that what a DA is literally supposed to do? Isn't that his job?
Steven, come on. Just because there was already an investigation, just because Trump had a history of corruption, I mean, that's basically the same as lock her up. You get that, right, Steven? Come on.
Was that the same investigation? And he's not the only one. Letitia James also campaigned on prosecuting
We're not talking
Trump.
about Letitia James.
Well, we are when it's convenient for them.
Hold on. Do we agree that Bragg's statements here seem to be the exact opposite of what you implied, right?
The statements that you read just now were not like the bad ones that I'm referring to. I'm looking through his statements during the campaign. But
Letitia James ran on going after Trump for the massive fraud that Michael Cohen testified to in front of Congress. She wasn't just finding it out of nowhere. It was something that was established in the public square.
You guys got a third name? Bragg, James. Is there another one?
Okay.
Garland maybe did something bad?
F-A-N-I.
Okay, so
it's
we're
Fanny,
gonna
but I call her
we got
Fanny.
a few more questions if we're done with that back and forth. Wasn't there something you wanted to touch back on earlier, AJW? I kind of forget.
This was it. We just touched on it, yes.
Oh, you just touched.
I'm
Okay,
looking for the Bragg thing, so.
Okay, we'll just give you more time. I'll ask some more questions. For the righties, if Trump loses and retires, will the right stay MAGA, revert back to the right pre-Trump, or something new? W. Dillon, this was spaced. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously, I personally am not going to support Trump after like his legally allowed term, right? Obviously, I'm going to like support somebody else.
I mean, obviously, I am Canadian, which I did ask Connor why I was partaking in this despite being Canadian, and he said, for the thrill, for the flares. So here I am, but I don't think, just obviously observing it all, and even in Canada, it seems that a more populist right is always going to be the choice at the moment and probably going forward, at least for the next while. I mean, the Conservatives in Canada tried to run a more moderate Conservative that supported gun control, vaccine mandates, this kind of stuff, and Trudeau wiped the floor with him, and now they've had to replace him with a more populist candidate for Canada, Pierre Poilievre. So even in Canada, and you look at the UK, Nigel Farage is now the opposition because the Conservatives were voted out for being too moderate. I don't think you're going to see a reversion to a more previous neocon right in the Republican Party. I don't think that the voters want that or the base want that anywhere in the Western world at the moment, whether you like that or not.
Could you foresee any meaningful changes between that future populist candidate and Trump? That's a genuine question. Like if they're also going to be a populist, would you see like a major departure in any respect from Trump?
I couldn't. I mean, Trump is a pretty unique personality. It would be hard to replicate a Trump personality in any future candidate, and I think any attempt to do so would seem a bit, fake and weird. So there is going to be that difference. I don't think you're going to probably have the TV star aspect in a future candidate. But, look at someone like J.D. Vance. I thought that was a pretty surprising pick, and he's definitely more of from the more esoteric, autistic right-wing spheres than we've ever properly seen in kind of mainstream politics. I think that you are going to have a very, very different candidates coming up, especially as millennials start to enter the race for leadership. But yeah, not going to be the same kind of TV star personality as Trump. I can't imagine that would be the case.
I think we're witnessing the collapse of the Republican Party. I think Trump is, I mean, if he loses, I think Trumpism is not going to go away. And I just don't think they can help themselves. And they seem to be getting more and more extreme the more they lose. And the more they lose, the more extreme they get. And it's just a vicious cycle. And it's just.
The question was, would you support Trump if he tries to stay past his second term? Was that the question?
Oh, I apologize.
Mega politics.
No, it was like if Trump takes a big fat L, like what's gonna happen to MAGA politics? Is it gonna like die? What's gonna happen to the Republican Party, etc.?
I mean, in reality, what people like is winners in politics. Like the reason that Biden won the primary in 2020 is because of Obama nostalgia. The reason that Hillary Clinton won the primary in 2016 was because of Clinton nostalgia. So if Trump takes a second loss, like that's it. It's like pretty much over for him. Like those people still exist. They'll still want a candidate that speaks to those issues, but it's like it's pretty much over for him. Also, he's kind of like a really old guy. So
I don't know though. I mean, like 2022 was pretty brutal for Republicans.
Yes,
that's a midterm. We're talking about presidential elections. Like typically people don't like the feel of a loser, and Trump kind of escapes some of that because he like says that he didn't lose and enough people believe it. And also like the Biden term was so bad that they feel like he could win again. But like if he loses again, then it's pretty much over for him, in my opinion. Like I don't see recovering from 2 presidential election losses.
Yeah. Okay. I'm interested by the chat. They're all saying J.D. Vance is a horrible pick. How could you not realize he's a horrible pick? I don't think J.D. Vance was a good pick, personally. I think he probably should have gone with a woman, in my opinion, but a lot of right-wingers disagree with me there. That's my opinion, though.
Any woman?
Just because
just
any woman. Okay. No.
DEI, we call that DEI.
No, somebody who could stand to be close to Trump all the time, so not his wife.
Jeez, true.
Damn. My point wasn't like you have to like this direction, people. My point is that is where it is going. People are kind of getting really sick of the lack of change in, I mean, like I said, all over the Western world, whether it be the UK, immigration policy, even with Trump. I mean, Destiny, you've made some pretty good critiques on Trump shooting down.
Will she say mass migration? What do we think? Mass migration. Let's go. Let's
They just want people that are actually going to do something. And is sometimes that a lot more rhetoric than it is actually action? Yeah, sometimes. But people are listening to rhetoric. They want someone that seems like they're going to push harder on immigration policy, getting progressivism out of schools, all these issues that are kind of in their day-to-day periphery, the inflation issues. And once again, this, whether you like the candidates or not, whether you hate the right wing, whatever, that's just the direction I think it's going to go, more and more populist.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions. The next one is, do you guys think that J.D. Vance saying that he would overturn the election results on national TV was a problem or is concerning?
Yeah,
that was for the conservatives.
Little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat that?
It had to do with J.D. Vance went on TV when he was going for the VP pick, and the question came up about like what Mike Pence, when he had the choice between like, you know, is he going to like send it back to the States or not? And J.D. Vance said that he would. Is that concerning at all?
Yeah. If J.D. Vance said that, if that quote is legit, then yes, that's concerning. That's idiotic. And it's a good way to land yourself in federal prison because, and I honestly, if he did say that, he's pandering to Trump, which, you know, I mean, I get that everybody panders to the nominee. I get that's a thing that happens. But yeah, it's a stupid move. Like, you should not do that. It was a terrible plan.
Plus, I mean, it's part of like the overall like trend we're seeing from prominent Republican politicians who won't commit to accepting the results of the election. They'll say things like, I am fully confident that Donald J. Trump will be elected the 47th president of the United States, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, but no matter what the outcome is, I am confident that Donald J. Trump will be the 47th president. Multiple Republican senators, I think Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, certainly J.D. Vance, among others. It's extremely dangerous. I think that a good test for Republicans should be, hey, before we answer that question, how would we feel if a prominent Democrat said something like that? Perhaps the vice president, currently Kamala Harris, who would be presiding over the certification of the next election. What if she said, I am confident that Joseph Robinette Biden is going to be elected the 47th president of the United States, to every answer about will you accept the results of the election? The last thing I'll say on that is, actually going all the way back to the Eastman memo when they were scheming to try to justify Pence tossing out the ballots. I can't remember, and Stephen might remember, I think it was Pence's chief of staff or Pence's counsel was like, okay, so could Al Gore have done it in 2000? And Eastman's like, no, of course not. Okay, could Joe Biden have done it in 2016? No, of course not. Could Vice President Harris do it in 2024? No, of course not. These people are unprincipled fucking losers who deserve nothing but your public contempt.
By the end, Greg Jacobs testified, I'm pretty sure, that when he was arguing with Eastman over how likely do you think this would be to survive in the Supreme Court, the first answer that Eastman said is we'd probably lose 7-2. And then after talking for a little more, like, yeah, I'd probably lose 9-0. Like, that was an absurd theory.
Yeah. So,
did you have something to say on this, Cam?
I was just going to answer the question, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I was just going to say, I agree with Sean. If he said this, then yeah, it's bad, of course, and not good. But I think something that we kind of miss when we're looking at all these Trump loyalists being appointed to government is I think we miss the fact that a lot of the times they're doing these things, like Sean said, to pander to the nominee, right? Like, I think that when J.D. Vance said that, who knows if he would have actually done it? It seems like he was probably doing it to pander to Trump and get Trump's support and continue to have Trump support him, whatever, and also energize Trump's base and make Trump's base support him right now because he's having obviously troubles with that. But on top of that, these people all have their own interests at heart, right? Who's when it really comes down to the line, are they going to sacrifice their own election?
Can I ask that follow-up question just personally? Do you think JD Vance there's ever
wait? Can he follow? Can he do the end of that? Were you about to say would they really risk their political life? There are multiple lawyers that are in the process of being disbarred right now. What kind of a question is that?
It's not the majority of Trump appointees. The majority of Trump's appointees abandoned him for their own personal interests. I'm just not going to.
Well, I don't understand how what you just.
Wait, guys, give me a second.
Because of the TV people.
Cam, give me a second. I just want to get to the core of this and move on because we do got to wrap this up because the people got to go. Do you think that there's any risk that JD Vance have given the instructions to do what send it back to the states that he would do it?
I don't know.
Anybody here?
I think there's always risk that people are going to do certain things, right? We don't know for certain.
Wait. There's always risk that certain people are going to do certain things. Wait, what was that answer?
Yeah, of course there's risk. If he said he would do it,
is this not a tacit?
What I'm saying is I think a lot of times.
Wait, guys, don't let him answer. Okay,
thanks. Yeah, it seems like every time I open my mouth, everybody else starts talking. Jesus. It's crazy. So anyway, what I was trying to say was Destiny, come on, man.
That was Josiah, not me. Don't blame me.
Steven, fucker.
Okay.
Steven, stop it.
Okay, great. Okay, so anyway, what I was getting at was it seems like a lot of these people just pander to Trump so they can get support from his base and win elections, right? But when it comes down to actually losing their jobs, it seems like the majority of them are not going to sacrifice their jobs to help Trump and his crazy esoteric legal theories, like I said before. And you cite all these people. You guys have been citing all these crazy people that continue to support Trump and all of his antics. And it seems to be all the crazy TV people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. Of course, those people who are looking for popularity on television are going to pander to Trump's base.
Wait, we're talking about JD. Can I just say real quick, is that not a tacit admission that the Trump administration would be a threat to democracy?
Yep.
It feels like you acknowledge that there would be a risk of JD Vance doing something similar to January 6th.
Yep.
He said the opposite. That he would choose his own personal political career over.
No.
Yeah, but if his personal political career relied on approval from Donald Trump, which Donald Trump makes clear to every single person he talks to. I help these guys get elected. He said that on the call to.
That's a phenomenal question. Can you point to me a major Republican whose political career depended on them actually challenging Trump? Because it seems to me that's a death sentence in the Republican Party more often than not.
But Vance as the VP, if he was the VP, and again, nobody explains how he would be in the position of Trump, but whatever, as the VP has the same issues that Mike Pence had, where there's nowhere to go when you're the VP except to the presidency, and you risk going to jail if you try this and the court tosses it out. So it's not in his self-interest in that moment to do that. Remember, Mike Pence was one of the biggest hype men for Donald Trump up until he asked him to do something that would compromise not only his own career but his own freedom.
Well, but now you can get pardoned. What do you mean? Federal crimes? President can just pardon you.
I mean, he theoretically, sure, he could pardon you, but again,
so that just defeated your entire argument. Why would it not work?
It's not going to work though.
Why?
The court is going to invalidate it because even the lawyers that came up with this said it was a 7-2.
The court's going to invalidate a pardon?
No, not the pardon. the actual act to keep Trump in office.
But, well, maybe the court will invalidate. You don't know. Who knows, right?
Yeah, we have a pretty good idea when they rejected all of Trump's election cases that they weren't interested in it.
Yeah, but then they granted him. But then they granted him criminal immunity that the president of the United States has never had in the history of all of the presidencies. So
prosecuted by opportunistic political actors, and it got kicked up to the Supreme Court. They sought to have a standard for actions while the president was in office. Like, you act like he just got granted immunity out of nowhere.
He did. It came out of nowhere. Yes.
Certainly was nowhere in the Constitution.
Yes.
It was because of case after case where the court had to examine this specific claim.
What specific claim?
I want to. Okay.
Like that the president has some level of immunity.
Okay, he doesn't. The court invented that for him. But also, wait, did we find the Alvin Bragg's quote? Or
I know that Alvin Bragg actually. So you had two attorneys that ended up leaving the case in 2021 to give you an idea of the political nature of this, and they both entered written statements saying that Bragg decided not to prosecute. And then all of a sudden, when Trump is saying that he's running for office, this case ends up coming back. So this, like I said, was dead and buried when people didn't know Trump was running for office.
Wait. That's good. But can you admit that what you said is nowhere to be found from what Bragg said? Bragg didn't say anything what you said, and what he said was the exact opposite of what you implied, right?
Bragg didn't say I'm directly going to find the crime to prosecute Trump, but he ran on prosecuting Trump.
Hold on, no. He said he ran on continuing the already started investigation, and he said he was going to follow the facts.
Many quotes about
wait. Can you give me one single quote that shows what you were saying? You just spent all this time looking for it, right? One single quote that shows what you
timeline of the case. But...
Okay, so to be clear, then what you're saying, you have no quotes for this, and every quote that we've both seen so far is the exact opposite of what you said. The exact opposite. So we're relying on there being some. It is the exact.
It's not the exact
Hold on.
opposite.
Him saying that I'm going to follow. No, wait. Where did he say? Where did he say that? I'm going to go after him, or did he say I'm going to follow the facts?
Oh my God, he's paraphrasing.
Also, I just think it's hilarious.
No, he's not. No, wait, stop. Hold on. He's not paraphrasing. Paraphrasing implies that you are accurately summarizing the underlying material. He's not paraphrasing. He's misquoting and he's misstating.
When you're ready.
Wait. We're gonna let. Wait. 1 second. Wait. We're gonna let Destiny finish his point, and then we're gonna have Sean respond because this is the back and forth. We don't need I don't think the side commentary here is that important.
I'm just curious. What is a single Alvin Bragg's point? Yeah.
Yeah.
After they're done, can I be permitted to leave?
Yeah, we have one more rabbit hole question, and then we're done. Okay. I promise. Okay. Promise you. Okay.
I got a final goodbye message, but.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. Accidentally turned on some music. Oopsie doopsie.
Is it Steven or me?
Back. Yeah, no. Steven asked the question. Sean respond.
Yeah, my final point was that it seems like every single quote from Braggs showed that he was going to follow the facts, he was going to be careful and follow the law, and he was continuing the investigation that had already begun, which is a stark contrast to Sean accusing him of saying he's going on a fishing expedition and he was going to prosecute him no matter what. So I'm looking for a single quote around his campaign when he's running that demonstrates that he was planning on doing that, or at least made that intention public.
Again, the entire campaign for Manhattan District Attorney was about this. Go watch the Democratic debates for the Manhattan District Attorney, who are going to win. On top of that, he specifically was referring to, in a lot of the quotes that Steven cited, the campaign finance prosecution, which he did not actually prosecute didn't prosecute him for. And also, according to CBS News, Alvin Bragg dropped this case in 2021 and then re-picked it up, according to the special assistant district attorneys that he had on board. So, yes, there was a political motivation for this. Now, as far as the specific quote that Destiny is asking for, it does not exist. He gave caveats. He's smarter than he's smarter than I gave him credit for in my paraphrase. So if you want to take that, that's fine.
Okay, so just to be clear, everything you just said was, you keep saying there's a political motivation. You have zero evidence of that. You said go watch all of the debates or all of the
campaign, but okay.
Okay, where? Show me. Literally, where?
Like in the campaign, he's talking about prosecuting Trump.
In the campaign, what? In the what? StarCraft 2 campaign? And the campaign for what?
What campaign for Manhattan District Attorney? That would be the office that he holds, Stephen.
Okay, so was this in a speech? Was it on social media? Is it published anywhere, like on a major media publication?
He gives the caveat at the end of it. That's true. He did give his caveats. If you want to say that's fine, then that's fine.
I mean, they're fine for Trump. When Trump says go peacefully and patriotically one time in a fucking speech, that changes the tenor of everything. Bragg's caveats.
Wait, no, we've reached
kind of funny.
We've reached the StarCraft references. I think that's enough. My last rabbit hole question. Then we're gonna do closing so everybody can go. Do you guys think that with JD Vance's, like, he's only been the senator for like 2 years? What background can we go off of to like educate ourselves on whether he would make that decision to, you know, go and send it back to the states, or he would say, no, Trump, I stand with the Constitution, or whatever you guys would think he would say? Because he doesn't have like an extensive history in politics.
Who was that to?
I mean, that was, I mean, I guess the conservatives.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
True.
It's almost like a rephrase of the same question that we.
It's almost like conservatives have no fucking platform, have no engagement with the political system whatsoever, and the defense of Donald Trump is actually a fucking joke, and every single thing around him is actually a fucking giant meme. Which is fine.
No.
We all meme it up sometimes. That's good.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
No need to
I
answer it. We can just
almost.
wrap it up.
Yes, thank you. I had a brief moment of wisdom where I told Connor I couldn't join this because I said I didn't have enough time to do research before it because I've had a hectic month. I've told a few of you guys about it, but it's just been ridiculous. Believe it or not, Destiny audience, Pisco and I have been going over the indictments for hours. We've spent good time on it, but I definitely need more time to go through it. I do not think that they are simply cut and dry. Trump is going to end democracy and was about to. I don't think it's that simple so far, but I have a lot more reading to do. Lauren should have left 5 minutes when she came in. I should have. I absolutely should have. But I will also have you know, Connor told me that someone on the Hippy Dippy stream was crying, screaming, and throwing up if I didn't show up. So I left here. I showed up at my studio to join and contributed absolutely nothing. So I apologize to AJW and everyone else for that. But next time, when I'm done this with Pisco, I will have an excellent conversation. So thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. You have a great one.
Cheers.
Okay, we'll go to everybody else for closings.
You made Monolith very happy. He was crying and screaming in the chat.
Was he the one crying and screaming in the chat? All right. Bye.
Okay, let's stop milking and let's wrap it up. Let's start with AJW.
What are we doing now?
We're wrapping up. Outros and
closing statement.
Yeah,
all
closing.
right. So, I mean, we got a little off track, but it was fun. It's not about like what you achieve. It's about the friends you make along the way. Now, during the course of this debate, which was pitched to us as Trump is going to end democracy, throughout the course of it, these guys presented no plausible scenario in which that could happen. Instead, they threw out this random thing or that random thing, talked about how he could erode some norms and all of that, which honestly is like what you could argue about any candidate, and it's like really more opinion based. And I was hoping for a plot that could circumvent the 22nd Amendment from any of these people, but unfortunately I did not get that. And that's honestly quite sad. I mean, I am quite upset about that. Now, as for the evil orange man being not the best guy, I think we can all understand that he's not our favorite person in the whole world unless he absolutely is. And, you know, like he definitely has some sketchy tendencies, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, look at the color of his skin. But I think what we can all say as we came together is that through the course of this conversation, we became more than just a debate panel. We became a family. And if you guys can't realize that I'm ready to go to the bathroom, then I don't know what to tell you. But it was nice. I hope you guys are very well in your lives. It's nice meeting all of you. You're all good friends. And I'm out of here.
Damn, he deleted himself, basically. Damn, okay. Sending you over to Destiny, then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the conservative defense for Trump is a meme because Trump is a meme and because his whole platform is a meme. And I think that it is literally impossible. I think it's kind of been demonstrated over the past 2 weeks. It's impossible to seriously engage with any conservatives when it comes to defending Donald Trump's behavior. They instantly become basically like LSD, you know, schizo-ridden, delusional, insane people who have to like pull to the ends of the earth. I think I would say that the highlight of the debate for me tonight was watching the conservative side seriously consider whether or not the Civil War was a threat to American democracy. I think that was the highlight of this debate to me, and I think it illustrates how far you have to go to justify any defensible position of Donald Trump and the way that he conducts his behavior while he's in office.
Okay, we're gonna send it over to Hutch.
Yeah, I thought this is something I run into a lot. I engage with conservatives a lot on social media, and cope that I see over and over again, and we saw it on full display tonight, was, we had our two co-panelists acknowledge that Donald Trump tried to subvert the will of millions of voters and simultaneously say that that's not a threat to democracy. They both acknowledged that J.D. Vance saying that he would commit to actually sending those electors back if he was in that same spot. They don't seem to acknowledge that that is a threat to democracy. I don't know what to do with that. You can find me on Twitter at Hutchinson, on Twitch at Hutch. Dylan, thanks for having me, and it was nice to meet my fellow panelists for the first time here.
Awesome. And we're now going to send it over to Cam Higbee.
Hey, yeah, so firstly, thank you, Dylan, for having me on, and thanks, Danabo, for reaching out. Furthermore, I'd like to pretty much say the same thing Sean said, in that I think that at least to us, the way that it seemed was, and that's, I think, nobody's fault other than the interpretation that both sides had, that basically democracy being on the ballot meant that democracy is going to cease to exist if Donald Trump wins the election. I don't think that that's true. Obviously, and I posited like several times that we could just move on from that topic and, maybe look at a more nuanced version of this discussion that talked about like threats to democracy as opposed to democracy ceasing to exist if we got concessions from people, but we never got concessions from people, so we continued to go in circles the entire time. Furthermore, I'd like to say that Destiny says the conservative side seriously considered if civil war was a threat to democracy. I don't think anybody did that on here. I told you as soon as you said it that it was a non-analogous example or analogy. It wasn't a good metaphor for the situation, obviously, because there was a military coup as opposed to like, somebody trying to like use or manipulate laws to keep themselves in power. Obviously, it's fundamentally different. So, yeah.
Okay, and now we're going to send it over to Pondering to wrap us up.
Yeah, so appreciate this last second edition. It's great interacting with AJW, Lauren.
Wait, one second. I do want to throw a really big shout out to Cam for coming last second with very little time to prepare. I really do appreciate it.
Basically none. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, seems like a chill guy. It was nice meeting you guys. I learned a lot from this conversation. Number one, that threats to democracy are when military, nothing is ever on the ballot. Democracies never end. They're just temporarily inconvenienced. It could be for 10 years. It could be for centuries. The Roman Republic never ceased to exist because Italy still exists. I don't understand the thought process. There is no good faith defense of Donald Trump. He is an authoritarian narcissist, a pathological liar, a betrayal of genuine conservative principles. And this idea that simply because he failed in his first attempt to thwart democracy, therefore he will fail in his second attempt is categorically ridiculous. You would never apply that logic anywhere in any other aspect of life. If you have a girlfriend or a spouse, and again, they drive their car into a guardrail on a highway and they don't careen over the cliff, you would never say, hey, go fucking try it again. You were never in danger. Categorically ridiculous. Make sure you vote for the Democrats in every fucking election until the MAGA Republican wing of politics dies.
Until you're dead.
Politically.
And that is that. Thank you to everybody for coming out and spending so much time with the show. I think it was a good relaunch. I think it went well.
True.
I think it went well with a lot of bumps, but the bumps just became, good theater, I guess.
Good job, Dylan. We appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good one. I'm going to be very busy this weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Be careful.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
you.
See you guys later. Hi, what's up, buddy?
All right, chat.
Fuck you then, Hutch. Fucking piece of shit. I'm so glad he left. I hate that fucking guy. And Call of Duty sucks. I don't think there's any serious way that you can defend any of these things. The brag stuff is so dumb. Was the Civil War first? Episode 1 is I should have just asked that. Pisco was a retard. When Pisco said you should ask Greenwald if Fort Sumter counted as an insurrection, I shouldn't have asked that. I should have just asked, was the Civil War, did that count as a rebellion? Because apparently, Civil War wasn't even a threat to democracy. I should just be asking these questions, I guess. What the fuck? How do we say, like, what, like, it's so funny because they accuse the liberals of doing like the mental gymnastics. Like, what level of unburdened has your mind become when, well, fuck, was the Civil War a civil war? Well, war usually implies two separate enemies, and civil implies some level of civility. Civil and war are directly at odds with each other. It doesn't even make sense if we truly think about it. Like, it's a good question. Okay. I love you guys. Be careful. Don't die. Okay? Whatever you do. Whatever you fucking do, don't die.